Hello, and welcome everyone to our webinar about troubleshooting your account-based marketing and just getting a bit more from your ABM. My name is Brandon. I work for Ocean.io. We're going to kick off in a minute. I see a lot of people still entering now, so we'll give people a second to join. I'm here working from home. I'm sure a lot of you are. This is the second in our Lunch and Learn series for marketing. It's webinars we just run at lunchtime, trying to keep them short and sweet. Yesterday, we did an intro to ABM in 17 minutes. And the goal here is that we can keep this at about 20 minutes or 21 minutes when we timed it out. I'll do my best to stay on track. If you have questions at any time, there's a chat to the side. Please add your questions. We'll handle them at the end. And we've got a guest coming. Actually, a colleague of mine, Tice, who worked for a company called Mono Solutions. We'll be talking to him later as well. As I'm working from home, I've got a small baby with me. So if you hear it, if you hear cooing and things like that, that's the reality I guess we're living in these days. So we're just kicking off, and here we go. Like I said, I'm Brandon. I am an American guy living in Sweden, working in Denmark for the company Ocean.io. I've been working in marketing for like a decade now, working largely in go-to-market plans and for companies like Trustpilot, for Kayak, and now for Ocean. And this one, we're talking about account-based marketing, which is a strategy that's been one of my favorites. Because it helps to kind of solve the problem that you have where sales is sitting there saying, hey, we need more leads, and marketing's saying, you're not following up on our leads. This is about, gets kind of into depth for account-based marketing and how we're looking at it at Ocean right now. While I'm sharing our method with you guys, hopefully you find it helpful and a model. And when I think about it as a strategy too, to me, it's how we're approaching the market. So we're not getting too much into specific tactics and things like that, but more the broader strategy around account-based marketing. And the account-based marketing, generally, it's really effective. It's been, for me, it's been something you get founding bigger deals and just much better alignment between sales and marketing. But there's some reasons that sometimes it doesn't go well. And it took a while to figure some of this out. And one would be that your targeted account lists that you're targeting for account-based marketing, they're not great. I see this as like sushi. If we're going for the lunchtime theme here, your targeted list and account-based marketing are like, it's like the fish in your piece of sushi. You could have the best, Euro, the best sushi chef in the world making sushi, but if you're not starting with like the right fish or a good piece of fish, it's not going to turn out well. So the targeted lists are really important to get right, but they can be really time consuming to build. If you're going through Google, or maybe you're buying some data sources and trying to find the right categories, the data quality might not be good, and you just end up, people lose enthusiasm for the different category over time. But in marketing, you spent a lot of time building it up, and now you're sort of stuck with it. Another problem that can easily happen is you're not really aligned with sales. And the great thing of account-based marketing, it goes along, I see it with account-based selling, that you have the same ideas about it. So we'll be sharing some of the things we do to help align that. So sticking to lunch theme, it's like pizza versus sushi. Neither is better, but you've got to make sure people are on the same page about what you're going to get. And so keeping aligned with your marketing teams and sales teams just helps everything be more effective. So it's about clear expectations or little alignment, or especially get down back to the targeting, who's making the decision on who to target. So collaboration between sales and marketing is the next big one. And the last could be that you've just got disappointing results. I saw a stat the other day. It said 60% of companies see a 10% lift in their average order value, and I think it was 20%, or 1 in 5 get a 30% lift. But maybe you're not seeing this. It could be that there's no obvious ROI compared to what you've been doing. It could be that you're stuck on industry, that you've picked a select industry, but now you're you feel like you've committed to it and it's not delivering the results you wanted to, or changing times. You committed to, maybe you targeted something like restaurants, and that's such an upside down world we're living in now for that industry. You're kind of stuck with it, or there's just an uncertainty of focus. And so we think we've come up with ways to address all three of these points, and it's something that we call an agile account-based marketing approach. And the agile approach is based on a maturity model from Demandbase, but it focuses on this idea of experiments and of getting to results quickly. So the Agile ABM method, we look at this in four categories. And I'm going to spend time here walking you through. This is our method we use to how we're approaching this efficient. Your sushi is the targeting, that you've got the right target. You know who target marketer doing effective campaigns for ABM. And the last is measurement. How are you measuring results step by step in each stage? And my hope for you is that you could take this model, and if you're already running ABM, you can look at it and say, we're at step 3, we're really far advanced categories, but like maybe you're falling behind in another, and it can help pinpoint where you should account-based marketing. Step 0, as we call it, and it's not step 1, it's step 0, because it's like it's an agile approach where it should be experimenting and getting things going. So aligning with sales, it's experiment alignment. And one way we're doing this right now, I've got one marketer and one sales rep working together for a potential segment we want to go after. But before dedicating too many resources to it, before stopping the presses and just focusing everything on that, we're starting off with just one marketing guy doing some marketing activities and one sales guy approaching the same accounts. And if they can find this looks promising, then we'll start to blow it up and move up the model. So this is how I approach it. It's this one-to-one. Think of it as like a pilot. How do you start your pilot program? And getting that experiment people on the same page. The next for this is it's about being a specific industry. And I've seen a lot of times, and when I first approached ABM, I think this is where my first error was when I did it with a previous company. You do an industry, you say, oh, financial services or something like that. That can be so broad for financial services, because you end up saying, are you talking to banks? Are you talking to payday loans? Are you talking to like Bitcoin companies online? And by being more specific, it really helps to target your messaging. So with account-based marketing, you're targeting that messaging for the audience. And the more specific you get, the more specific you can make it. On step 0 with marketing campaigns, it's just some basic lead gen. You could, if you've got a landing page maker, prop up a single landing page for this industry, run some digital ads towards it. It's stuff you can do quickly and easily to test to see, does this get traction? And then the measurement becomes your campaign performance. You can look at like the conversion rate, cost per lead, even or your sales team, are they connecting? Are they able to start these conversations? So the key to making this an agile approach is that step 0, it's something you can repeat again. You're not getting so long. You don't need to focus on going to step 1 until you found something that is successful, specifically with this industry. So I would say you start with one industry. If the results are promising, step it up. Say, let's get serious. Let's bring in more marketing resources, more salespeople. Let's get everyone on the same page and go towards this industry. Maybe start looking at another. If it's not, go back to the brainstorm. Start to find something else you can target and repeat the process, because you haven't invested too much. It should be easy to pivot until you find what's going to work for you. And this is where, again, I've made mistakes in the past where you starting off with like 3, 4 industries and you're trying to coordinate all of these things at once. It becomes very difficult, as opposed to pick a single specific industry, start to get some traction, and then move on to the next thing. So let's say we find some success in step 1, we go to step 2. Step 2 now, with alignment with sales, you're looking for philosophical. You both agree, hey, this is a shared belief that ABM is going to work well for us. You're committed to being collaborative and to targeted account selection together. So you're identifying, this is alignment with sales, working together still to say, these are the accounts we're going to pursue. Next thing you're going to look at is your targeting is company fit. So outside of industry, are you going down market or up market? Is it an enterprise approach, mid market, small market? What does that look like? What are some of the more attributes of the specific companies you're targeting? Also then bottom of funnel content. So you've got lead gen going, or you're beginning of lead gen. You can always be improving that, optimizing it. But what we do is we then push it from the other side. So you got your lead gen bringing people in. You take then the bottom of funnel and you start to then pinch it together. So you start to think, how do we help salespeople close more deals? What content do they need? What can we add to the bottom of funnel? And this is where we use what we call the campaign content matrix. And the goal here is to think about what what is going to be the easiest. So where we start is we start on the, up here. We're saying targeted customer quotes and messaging. Easy to make, and can I go on right here? It's easier to make. It's you can find a couple of customers within a specific industry maybe you already work with, and then you pull some quotes from them, get messaging for that specific group. You can roll this out. This is easy to do. I usually go back here next in terms of bottom of funnel. So this would be a case study, can be a really powerful tool that you could use throughout the funnel, but especially bottom of funnel for sales to be sharing what they're going to be going with. So it's about what is this bottom of funnel stuff before you do the stuff that's going to take you a long term. Over time, maybe you have some great content throughout the entire matrix, but just thinking like, what's the easiest stuff to pull off, and how do we get this going quickly? So that's thinking marketing content and what funnels you need here. Then you're looking at your measurement of opportunities. It's one I look at here. So it's marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads. Are you growing sort of the start of the pipeline that you have the opportunities, and you can look later to see how do we help close more opportunities. If you're moving on to the next step, you're now looking at operational alignment. So this is where you're going to talk and still collaboration with your sales team. Where do you plan and execute your campaigns? Also refining your messaging. So really looking at where do we refine our messaging. You can test things along the way, and it helps your other campaigns too, but perfecting this. When looking at operational alignment, I think of it as this way, like swimming lanes. In a swimming pool, you've got people all swimming in the different lanes, all doing their own thing, but kind of sharing the same space. It's the same here. You've got your marketing team running ads. You have marketing, sales team and marketing teams could be coordinating on like cold outreach emails to your specific contacts. And then you just know what is also your outreach for like social and phone calls. Potentially offline too. I would save this for, it's grayed out, I would save this for a later step of maturity, but just making sure you've got people, coordinated efforts. Your sales team is going outbound, your marketing is pushing for inbound, so your targeted accounts are seeing you no matter where they're going, and it's a good way to align. So that's your operational alignment here. In targeting, you're looking at the sales cycle here. So maybe there's what's the pre-sales engagement that you're targeting, as well as pipeline push. Maybe there's ads you can serve up during, well, there's open opportunities, things about like, sharing some of those case studies that you've developed in customer quotes. You also then have, focusing on customers and prospects in the sales funnel too. So like, where are you focusing? Within your marketing campaigns, you've got your full funnel. I'm gonna close my video here so I don't block off too much of the screen, I realized. Focusing again on full funnel. So it's a way you can tier your spending. I'll get into that in a second here too. But focusing on the entire funnel, bottom funnel, top funnel, mid funnel, and the measurement is your pipeline. Like, what's your pipeline velocity? Are your deals closing quickly? Is the pipeline have healthy growth throughout different stages as you're measuring it? So it should be working well. So you're getting pretty mature here before you get into the final stage. Sorry. So I'm one off here. So full funnel. I was thinking about the full funnel campaigns and smarter spending. It's a place this is where I would go into a tier-based spending model, where within your target accounts, identify who's your most valuable accounts. Usually it's bigger companies, or maybe it's just what you can close well. And then to divide up your spending by tier. So your top tier, this could be stuff that you're spending more money on ads, on personal sales outreach. Maybe there's events or gifts that you're doing, or it could be qualified tier 2. Tier 2 is getting a little less. Maybe you're automating some more sales outreach, a little less personalized. It depends on what tools and things and stack you're working with to run this. And then tier 3, it's still good fit companies, but it's a lot more automated because you're just not spending as much. So that's thinking about that as like your full funnel marketing campaigns, and how do you approach it, or how do we approach it? All right, so final step then, looking at your metrics alignment. So sharing metrics across team and looking at impact to business. So whatever you're measuring for sales, and this is your sales and marketing team are looking at the same the same metrics for success. So it's not just marketing saying, I delivered these leads, and sales saying, I made these sales. But you're really looking at how many within your targeted named accounts have you closed, and what's the revenue attribution there. Attribute targeting, you can get specific on things like the tech stack they're using, or it could even be competitor displacement. If you have like a good targeted competitor approach, specifically targeting companies you know work with competitors because you've built up a really strong ABM foundation. Analog and full funnel. So this would be, again, this is where I would add things like mailers or gifts that you might give to people. It's a powerful tool, but it's one that I've seen marketing and I've been guilty of myself. You get excited about like, oh, it's Cinco de Mayo and we're going to mail people a piñata with our logo on it because you can't ignore a piñata sitting in your lobby. And it's a fun tactic, but it's expensive and it's slow and it can be part of ABM, but it's something that you can come at once you're pretty mature and not something you start with, not before running digital ads and things that are cheap and quick and easy to pivot. And so then your measurement here is your business outcomes. What's your ACV, close rate, even retention or upsell if you've been doing it for a while. So all in all, the idea here is that you can have a framework to say, is there one of these areas, is one of these 4 areas why my account-based marketing is falling short, and where should I focus on bringing it to the next level? All right, I said 21 minutes, and I'm at 20 minutes. So I'm pretty proud of myself for sticking to a lunchtime. We have now a success story that I wanted to share. It's a colleague of mine, Thijs, is joining us here. I'm actually going to stop the slide.
Hi, Brendan.
Hey, Thijs, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so Thijs is a colleague of mine. He works with me at Ocean, but we know Thijs at Ocean. He worked for a company called Mono Solutions, who was an Ocean customer. And I met with Thijs, actually was writing a case study just when I first started to say, hey, what are you doing? And he shared his story. We know each other more and more. We've had some experience in the past too. And Thijs now joined us at Ocean. So I thought it was a good chance. He was working with ABM just to share his background. So maybe Thijs, first, tell us a little bit about Mono Solutions, where you were working.
Yeah. So I'm part of the team now, Brendan. But before Ocean, I was working at Mono Solutions, which is basically also a SaaS provider. And what they do is they built this website builder, which is super easy for small businesses to use, and they kind of resell this through reseller agreements. So they have kind of big, it's white label, so they have big customers that take their products and they resell it to their own SMB customers. And as you can hear, like the kind of customers that they are looking for, that we were looking for, it's a specific segment, right? It's not any company that sells websites. It's resellers. So you're obviously most interested in the big ones, because if a reseller only sells 10, probably your costs are higher than your profit, right? So we were basically looking for like specific sized companies in specific industries, yeah.
And so is that your ABM experience then? Is this you were going with an ABM approach with this already, looking for companies within a specific size and industry?
Yeah, so I've experienced from some other SaaS companies also, and there was like there was an ABM strategy at one of the companies also where I worked before. I wasn't responsible for that, but I was like closely involved, and I kind of got like I got some insights into it. I also saw some of the flaws that like you kind of discussed them just now by like going through the different steps, and especially that step 3 where full-fledged ABM, where actually at the company I was before, I totally see that they kind of identified an industry, quite broad industry also, and they went for that full-fledged ABM approach, leading to kind of the things you just mentioned, right? Like you lose out on some enthusiasm from the sales team because you're kind of seeing that the results are not great, or the lists are not great. You start spending quite a lot, but you're not totally sure yet of if it actually can lead to like a good ROI, right? So kind of with those flaws in mind, I started at Mono, and we started talking, like, I think it's a classic, Mono's classic example of a company starting with ABM. Like, you are looking into new industries. You kind of know your existing industry very well. You're looking into new industries. You try to find a way of marketing and sales working together, right? And I think super quick, like ABM is on the table. And that's when we decided to start with it, yeah.
Right. And so when you started out then, you mentioned you'd done it a bit before and knew some of the hardships. So what were some of the challenges you faced then?
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges I saw before I started at Mono was kind of the data that was being used for building like account lists, buying like, finding a supply of data, buying a lot of data in, trying to get the sales team vetted and stuff like that. So with that in mind, we kind of took a different approach where we were like, okay, we need to make sure that it's good quality. So we're gonna, I think a lot of companies are doing this actually, trying to use Google. So like specifically for Mono, it's like, we want to sell to hosting companies. We knew there was an opportunity. We didn't have customers in the space, but we knew there was a big opportunity there. How do you find hosting companies? Like there's different ways, but Google kind of gives you a good idea of like top 10 hosting companies in Italy, for example, right? And then you find like a list and you add that to your list and you kind of continue like that. And it takes a lot of work. And our perception at first was that the quality was rather good. And that you don't really miss out on companies. So we got to like a list of maybe like 400 companies in the hosting space, which took us like probably, some full-timers took like maybe 2 weeks or something. So it was an expensive way to build your list, right? But that's kind of how we started out. Yeah.
Okay. So you had these lists, and then did you start into the marketing thing? Did you go to sales? What was your next step?
Yeah. So
once you finally sort of accomplished your list.
Yeah. So I think the start was like we were doing targeted outbound on those companies. We run ads on the site targeted these specific companies, mostly using LinkedIn because LinkedIn is by far the best kind of ad platform to target specific companies, right? Then some retargeting, of course, on the back of that. But kind of when we got the first signs that maybe the data was not good was just, especially when you have people doing outbound, they kind of get a feel for it, right? So they reach out to like the right personas that like on LinkedIn, they try to do cold calling and stuff like that. And you kind of get a feeling, as I told you before, like Mono was looking for like the bigger hosting companies that could possibly like resell like thousands of websites, right? And we were finding kind of niche companies and you just like, if a sales rep is like actually putting like time to cold call and actually getting in and demoing and stuff like that, they're using a lot of time on them, right? And I could slowly see the enthusiasm going down because of a number of demos that was just like, this is not really the right company, right? And that was quite clear. Like we got leads and stuff like that, but that, feeling of like, this is great quality and I'm really willing to put on my time because you're taking time away from other things. Like sales reps have their own ideas too, right? They have their own preferable industry. So you're kind of asking them to compromise on their own kind of like, their own projects almost. Yeah. To
and at the end of the day, yeah, they're the ones getting the commission check or not usually. So it's based on it's hard to, you have to be able to, as a marketer, I think it's about if you're not able to put up some results, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly what sales are going to abandon what you're delivering for marketing because it's a big part of a paycheck on the line. Yeah. Even though I can relate when the enthusiasm's there at the start and then it sort of dwindles over time. All right. So then what did you do? What did you do to solve this?
So like I came across Ocean. That's I downloaded like a white paper regarding ABM. I was like, okay, I also need to like step up my own knowledge and expertise and like troubleshoot it in a way. So I found and then I kind of found out that that Ocean was kind of a B2B database. I think you're going to go more into the detail afterwards, but that kind of compiles a lot of data points because the problem is with Google, like you search on Google and the things that you find are SEO optimized, right? SEO optimization doesn't really say something about the size of the company. Of course, it says something about how professional they are. But if there's a really good SEO marketer sitting at like a niche hosting company, then they get higher than like this big giant that's maybe more conservative and they don't have a clear SEO strategy. So there were already some signs during, like, what about this hosting company? We're just like, this seems to be a really good hosting company, but they're not on our list, right? What went wrong? But so I found out that Ocean could kind of deliver like a combination of data points. So I signed up for like a trial. I tried some demo, and we could basically upload our, we could basically check all of the accounts that we upload to this API. It was a bit cumbersome because that's not how it should be used, right? But we could basically check, okay, what is actually the traffic on a certain website? Then still, it's maybe a little bit SEO related, but what is actually the employee size of this company, right? What kind of tech are they using, and where are they actually located? By combining that data, we and this took like 2-3 hours. This was no work. Like, we could basically see that list of companies that we had, that was 400 plus, that there was probably like 30 to 40% of companies in there that were a bad fit, right? Meaning like something we would have invested like resources, sales resources, marketing resources. We could just throw it out. We could just like that 30 to 40%, we could just like gone. And by actually using the right parameter, so again, employee size, traffic size, combined with like the specific industries, we could actually say, this is not just a hosting company. This is a domain register. This is a web hosting company, so where you actually host your content, right? And we could add another 30%. So take out like 30 to 40%, add another 30%, and having a list that was much more detailed, basically, much higher quality. Meaning, like if like the enthusiasm we lost there would probably not have lost if we, and we were able to recapture that. So that was good.
Okay, well, great. So the better targeting wins back the hearts of the sales team to come back to the marketing campaigns. Yeah,
but also like I wish like this whole step, like the model that you presented, like the whole step zero, it's something we didn't do. So afterwards, we're kind of okay, we can also like divide them in industries, right? It's not that ABM became like the biggest success for this company because we just took the industry and we went for it, right? But the trial and error, kind of the experimenting phase, we kind of skipped that. And that's, looking back, we're sitting now in the same team, Brandon, and we're totally applying it here, right? But that's something I would really take with me, like the kind of the experimenting phase instead of like diving in.
Yeah, no, that's a mistake we've made in the past as well, where it's like next thing you know, you're trying to build content for 4 or 5 industries at once and trying to keep different subsects of different sales teams happy, maybe in different countries and languages. And by the time you get off square one, it's like, you're another quarter or 2 quarters down the line and you're just sort of getting started. So definitely, I agree. It's been good for us.
And by that time, it's just this big, massive thing, also just in the budgets and stuff like that, right? And everyone, their expectations is blown up and stuff like that, which it's hard to live up to those expectations.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
All right. Well, Thijs, thanks for sharing your story, your experience.
No worries.
I wanted to, so people here, if there's some questions coming in too on the side, we're going to hit those in a minute. If people want to give this a go, one thing we're offering, I'll get into now, this is sort of a special gift for anyone here on this webinar. We're giving you a chance to test out and build your first list, or if you have your current ABM list, do what Thijs did. Check it against sort of this ocean data. So we're actually uploading, giving you the chance to get a list. We'll include it in this email here. Let me go back to sharing screen here. All right. Hopefully you can see. Oh, didn't work too well. Done my presentation here. So it's a chance that we'll send it in a follow-up email to this. We are sending the recording of this webinar, but it's a chance to get your first. get your first targeted account list for free from Ocean. So it'll be around 100 downloads that you can come and start to use, and it can be for another pilot. If you want to try a pilot this way, alongside the existing ABM that you're doing. And just to break down a little bit of how it works. So with Ocean, like what is Ocean, this company we're working for? Like Tice mentioned, it's this giant database of companies, B2B companies, mixed with this AI. So ultimately it creates like this B2B search engine where you're able to create lookalike accounts or targeted lists. And from a marketing approach, this has been like such a time saver to, as Tice mentioned, again, build up these lists. But it's also about if you're doing like this experimental approach and saying, hey, we want to do step 0 and iterate, one of the easiest ways to create a list is just to do a lookalike account. Talk to your customer success team. What deal did you just close? That's like your best deal. Enter company name, and Ocean can give you a detailed lookalike list of these are the companies that are like mathematically most similar to the company you just closed based on what they actually do. So for marketing, it helps you really deliver when you show them, hey, we work with this company. It's usually a name that resonates with the company. It's so much easier for sales to close a company that's just like the one they already work with. And it's a company that the competitors already know usually. So it's like it builds up your messaging in a really smart way. Other thing we do, this is not meant, this is kind of the more at the end of the webinar, we'll get into questions, but you can add your CRM. This is not included in sort of the demo list we're giving you. But when you plug your CRM into this, what you get is a very unique database and this foundation of agile account-based marketing. Because now you're dealing with data that you can do segmentation and data enrichment. Based on Ocean data with your data, that's going to give you these recommendations and analysis that really help you to move really quickly and target the right things. That more requested demo from our sales team. We'll send you those chance to do the 100 leads. Again, sending the recording. Also, we're working on turning this model into a little bit more detailed PDF. We'll follow up. That's not quite done yet with our design, but we'll send that one off if people want to use this model as inspiration. It's worked well for us. So yeah, thoughts, comments, questions, jokes. What is it people have? I'll go through sort of these slides now. Slides, we're not going to share the exact slides. We'll share the presentation and we'll share the model. I want to share a different version of it just that gives you a little more context and details than fit on a single slide that we could do in PDF. How often should it be calling or emailing? I mean, that's tricky. The number that I tend to operate towards is 8 per cold outreach attempts. If it's total cold outreach, that the last stats I've read is that people don't. It takes them 7 times to respond, and to be very conscious about what are you asking for in your first cold outreach, both from sales and marketing. Making that first yes easy, that first intro easy. Personally, when sales always ask, "Oh, can I get time on your calendar?" as the first ask. It's a big ask. So like we go for 8, but it's going to depend on you. I would say kind of until people start saying, "Don't contact me." But maybe that's the wrong answer. That's just my thoughts. Is I'd rather somebody know about us and reject us than not ever remember hearing about us. What are the main benefits of ABM and who is it for? Industries and business. So I'll link to in the follow-up email to this. We'll share this. We did another lunch in their webinar tomorrow. We can share the recording of that. It's more of an intro where it talks about, so the main benefits are that you, it's a sales benefit and a marketing benefit. So with sales leads that you're selling, you're getting more qualified leads. You get that instead of starting with like marketing a traditional funnel of we want to have all these leads and then some people consider it and you build it in and kind of funnel down, you flip it around. So you start with a targeted list of accounts, expand from there to say who within these businesses are we going to target, focus on them across all channels. And then you have, ideally you're creating a bit of an internal conversation and a lot of stakeholders within a business wanting to buy the same solution. So you have a lot of people in one company looking to buy. It results in higher deals and better close rates. One thing for us, I don't think I added these slides at the end. Sometimes I add some extras. I didn't add them today, but what we've done is, so our targeting, we did a test, we targeted on LinkedIn with our ABM targeting list we got from Ocean and our regular LinkedIn targeting. And so the 2 different targets we did were, it was the exact same kind of persona, but the different list. And it ended up being that the list was like, different results. It was like 7 times more focused. So there was a lot fewer accounts we were advertising towards. Then because there was fewer accounts, we ended up with sometimes better click-through rates, sometimes about the same, but the overall cost per lead was way down because we were able to qualify from the get-go that these companies are really well qualified for us before we started spending. So we advertised to fewer companies, but much more qualified, and our cost per lead it was like 4 times less. And so it made LinkedIn, which can be a really expensive channel, it made it a lot more affordable for us. So better customer acquisition costs, better close rates are the main benefits, and bigger deals. Yep, we're sending off a recording of this webinar. Thanks for joining us. Suggestion for physical disks for tier 1 accounts. Oh, that's a good question. So I love if it's something that can relate to your business in some way. The pinata example I gave is one that we actually did, and it did work pretty well. And it is because if you fill a pinata full of candy, like it gets noticed. It sits on someone's desk. They don't just throw it straight away. And it was for Cinco de Mayo in the US, which was a thing. So that was like good because it stood out. I like a gift that's going to sit on someone's desk if it's something that's not like that can be actually useful or personal. There are some personalized gift agency. I don't know them off the top of my head. But I think to me, that's a fun part. Sit down with your sales team. It's a good way to get the alignment between sales and marketing too. Hey, we're going to send them, we've got this budget of gifts. What should it be? Should it be a mini speaker? Should it be, it's where you get creative. The other one that I like personally is socks. And you can include kind of, the cheeky messaging with it of like, we're just trying to get a foot in the door, something like that. And the reason I like socks, I've been given them as gifts as well from companies. It's because, again, it's not something you can have a whole drawer full of socks. You're not going to take a pair of socks and throw it away. Whereas people send you pens or like Post-it note holders. It's like, I don't really need this. So a pair of socks I like because it sat there, it was in my drawer, and then you end up wearing them every now and again. And then you think of that company, or every time you see them, you think of the company. So it just brings your company to the top of mind, and they're cheap. So it works, especially you can do some branded socks. So those are some of my favorite ones I've received and given. I think that's all the questions I see, unless anyone's. I missed one. What time scale should you anticipate for each step? So I honestly don't have a good answer for that. And it's going to be because it's going to be unique a little bit on each industry you're doing, and it's going to depend so much on teams. I would just say with step 0, be willing to move on quickly. Like, do as much as you can to test and to figure it out, and move either quickly to say, yep, this is working. Let's start to push it up to step 1, or let's restart this and let's try another industry, another target market, whatever it is. And then too, it's not, the framework for me is a way to help understand where can we improve, because you just want to make sure that you have some balance. Or maybe you're already sending gifts and you've really tiered your spending and done that well. And with your marketing campaigns, you're already on step 3. But if you're like, your alignment with sales is way down, you're like, I need to spend a little more time making sure we're on the same page to make this work better. Or maybe your measurement and how you're tracking things is not working. So just, it's about making sure that you kind of dividing account-based marketing into categories to know where to focus and know where to fit. That's all. Thank you all. Thanks for coming. Hope you had a good lunch. Again, we'll follow up today with this. I would love to link in if anyone wants to find me on LinkedIn. Happy to take a request, and really appreciate spending the time. Cheers. Thanks.